Assalamualaikum, I'm Ayesha binti MD Abdul Bashar from DEM08211107, batch 25A. Introduction. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, which is called MH370, was an international passenger flight operated by Malaysia Airlines that disappeared on 8 March 2014 while flying from Kuala Lumpur International Airport in Malaysia to Beijing Capital International Airport, which is captained by Zahari Ahmad Shah, and its first officer is Farid Abdul Hamid, traveled by 227 passengers and 10 cabin crew. Most numbered passengers are 153 passengers is China citizen, 50 passengers are Malaysian citizen including the captain and the first officer. The remaining passengers were from 12 different countries. Flight MH370 bound for Beijing departed from Kuala Lumpur International Airport at 12:42 am on March 8, 2014. Last contact made with air traffic control was at 1:19 am over the South China Sea with the words "Good night Malaysia 370". Final known sighting on military radar was at 2:22 am. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kim Zixiang, DEM08211334. Before Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 MH370 was an international passenger flight operated by Malaysia Airlines that disappeared on 8 March 2014 while flying from Kuala Lumpur International Airport in Malaysia and its planned destination, Beijing Capital International Airport. Flight 370 was a scheduled flight in the early morning of Saturday, 8 March 2014, from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia to Beijing, China. It was one of two daily flights operated by Malaysia Airlines from its heart at Kuala Lumpur International Airport (KLIA) to Beijing Capital International Airport. Scheduled to depart at 12:35 local time and arrive at 6:30 o'clock local time. On board were 2 pilots, 10 cabin crew, and 227 passengers. The planned flight duration was 5 hours and 34 minutes, which would consume an estimated 37,200 kilograms of jet fuel. The aircraft carried 49,100 kilograms of fuel, including reserve, allowing to endurance of 7 hours and 30 minutes. The extra fuel was enough to divert to Alernate Airport, Jinan, Yaoqiang International Airport, and Hangzhou Xiaoshan International Airport, which would require 4,800 kilograms or 10,700 kilograms respectively to reach from Beijing. At 12:42 o'clock, Flight 370 took off runway 32R and was cleared by air traffic control to climb to flight level, approximately 18,000 feet on direct path to negativation waypoint Igari. Voice analysis was determined that first officer communicated with ATC while the flight was on the ground, and the captain communicated with ATC after departure. Shortly after departure, the flight was transferred from airport's ATC to Lumpur Radar Air Traffic Control on frequency 132.6 MHz. ATC over Peninsula Malaysia and adjacent water is provided by the Kuala Lumpur Area Control Center (ACC). Lumpur Radar is the name of the frequency used for en route air traffic. At 12:46 o'clock, Lumpur Radar cleared Flight 370 to flight level 350 feet, approximate 35,000 feet. At 1 o'clock, report to Kuala Lumpur radar, they had reached flight level 350, which confirmed again at 1 o'clock and 8 minutes. These aircraft were carrying 12 Malaysian crew members and 227 passengers from 14 different nations. On the day of these appearances, Malaysia Airlines released the names and the nationality of the passengers and the crew based on the flight manifest. The passenger list was later modified to include 2 Iranian passengers traveling on stolen Australian and Italian passports. During at 1:20 Malaysia time, Flight 370 was observed on radar at Kuala Lumpur ACC as it passed the navigational waypoint Igari in Gulf of Thailand. 5 seconds later, the Mod S symbol disappeared from radar screen. At 1:21, Flight 370 disappeared from the radar screen at Kuala Lumpur ACC and was also lost at about the same time on radar at Ho Chi Minh ACC, which report that the aircraft was at the nearby waypoint Bitot. Air traffic control used secondary radar, which relies on a signal emitted by a transponder on each aircraft. Therefore, the ADS-B transponder was no longer functioning on Flight 370 after 1:21. The final transponder data indicate that the aircraft was flying its assigned cruise altitude of flight level 350 and to traveling at 471 knots through airspeed. There were few clouds around this point and no rain or lightning nearby. Later analysis estimate that Flight 370 had 41,500 kilograms of fuel and was disappeared from secondary radar. At the time that the transponder stopped functioning, military radar showed Flight 370 turning right, but then beginning a left turn to a southwesterly direction. From 1:30 until 1:35, military radar showed Flight 370 at 35,700 feet on a 231 degrees magnetic heading with ground speed of 496 knots. Flight 370 continued across the Malay Peninsula, fluctuating between 31,000 and 33,000 feet in altitude, and civilian primary radar at Sultan Ismail Petra Airport with 60 nmi range of for detection of an unidentified aircraft between 1:30 and 1:52. The track of the unidentified aircraft of an consistent with those of the military data. In 1:52, Flight 370 was detected by passing just south the island of Penang. From there, the aircraft flew across the Strait of Malacca, passing close to the waypoint Vampi and Pulau Perak at 2 o'clock 3 minutes, after which it flew along Air Road N571 to the waypoint Merka, Nilam, and possibly Igogu. The last known radar detection from a point near limits of Malaysian military radar was at 2:22 10 mmi after passing waypoint Merka from Penang and 247.3 mmi northwest of Penang Airport was an altitude of 29,050 feet. Country were reluctant to release information collected from military sensitive about revealing the capabilities. Indonesia has an early warning radar system, but its ATC radar did not register any aircraft with the transponder code used by Flight 370. Despite the aircraft's possibility having flown near or over the northern tips of Sumatra, Indonesian military radar tracked Flight 370 earlier when en route to waypoint Ikari before the transponder is true to have been turned off, but did not provide information on whether it was detected afterward. Thailand and Vietnam also detect Flight 370 on radar before the transponder stopped working. The radar position symbols from the transponder code used by the Flight 370 vanish after the transponder is true to have been turned off. Vietnam Deputy Minister of Transport Pham Quet Thieu stated that Vietnam has noticed MH370 turning back toward the west and that the operators had twice informed Malaysian authorities the same day on 8 March. Thai military radar detected an aircraft that might have been Flight 370, but it is not known at what time a last radar contact was made, and the signal did not include identified data. Also, the flight was not detected by Australia's conventional system or its long-range joint over the horizon radar system, which has an official range of 3,000 km and later was not operation on the night of disappearances. Thank you, that's all for my part.
Greetings to our respectable lecturer. I'm Darshini Murugan with student ID DEM102130. Today I would like to present about the after disappearance of MH370. Chief Executive Ahmad Jahari Hayat acknowledged that ticket sales had declined. Malaysia Airlines was also vulnerable to civil action from passengers' families. Government carrier responsibility to prove lack of fault in an accident. The air transport industry was also resistant to the installation of automatic transponders. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Yugan Raj. My student ID is DEM08211024 and I'm from batch 25A. I'm going to talk about the factors of disappearance of flight MH370. Following the case of the disappearance of flight MH370, got many passengers shocked and not trusting the national flight company anymore and getting people worried about this unsolved case. Making it worse, many speculations began circulating about the flight and the pilot, which also include 239 passengers who were lost on the radar when the flight supposedly landed at Beijing and it took a dark turn into the mist. One of the interesting factors is that the plane lost its signal due to a heavy storm in the clouds where there is light thunder which can jam or interrupt signals because the voltage is very high. Following Malaysia Kini News quoting on human factor may have been behind the disappearance of MH370, and if they did not have a mechanical connection between the control surface and the control, if it was not a wire sending an electronic impulse, some pilots were a little concerned about. The loss of flight MH370 is a threat to the nation because it compromises the systematic response between the agencies and the government and may or may not hide the truth from the community. The government having a plan approaching certain confidential information, neither intelligence is enough to know. if there was a terrorist attack, or simply it is the systems we trust that fails is locating where flight MH370 might be? And are the 239 passengers still alive? This is a huge question. These nations have been forgotten since its downfall, and no explanation have been brought upon since because of searching is still an ongoing process, and not even the shards of the flight MH370 have been located. Another factor is lack of information, where a plane, which is a huge achievement in a human's history, went missing, and the agency and governments are just clueless, because this is a very sensational news and we should prioritize those human lives and lack of intel among them. Another fact is that technical failure is also a problem, because following the analysis, the pilot was on radio wishing good night, as you can hear, to the passengers, and that's the last thing anyone could hear. Meaning that in good weather there could even be an engine getting exhausted and stop functioning and stops integrating in the mid-air, and this theory could be plausible for its origin, that maybe the engine is still intact and was running good, because this is all just a theory of catastrophe. Another factor that has been circulating is the aircraft MH370 may have been shot down by military and forces, and that may explain how the aircraft disappeared all of a sudden from radar. News agency Associated Press proclaimed that accidental shootdown as one of the leading theories, and followed the pairs of aircraft KAL-007 by Soviet Union in 1983 and Iran Flight 655 by the United States in 1988, being two cited examples to their theory. So this could be considered as a strategy of monopoly, where causing problems before attacking is a terrorist or misleading information which could have been shared among the elites. But the twist is, the press was no evidence that Flight 370 was brought down by a government entity and proven by Akbal bin Haji Abdul Samad, who said it was highly not possible to shoot the plane down because Flight MH370 is friendly. This is all criticism which is made by countries who show their hate towards certain theories. In addition to all this ruckus, many believe the case of missing flight MH370 was caused by cyber attack by a group of hackers to show their war spirit, and the piloting system could be controlled by hackers and fly them to enemy territories or let it crash into the sea itself. Anachronistically, a vertical entry into the sea just does not make sense at all, because even if the plane hits the water, the shards have already been found today. But no, this is not the case. The missing flight MH370 could also be missing due to a major military conflict or military operation. Thank you.
So my name is Sharmila Anapropa Rajasekaran. My ID number is DEM241318. Today I'm going to talk about effect of disappear MH370. The full financially impact of the double tragedies of MH370 is expected to hit Malaysia Airlines in the second half of the year, where we saw a sharp decline in average weekly booking by 33% immediately after the MH370 incident, with numerous flights cancelled. It also, Table 4 showed that tourist arrival from 10 top countries to Malaysia, consistently 87% of the total arrival showed a drop of 30.88% on average. The double mass tragedies of the MH370 crisis caused a month-to-month decline of around 14% in foreign tourist arrival to Malaysia. People also will lost trust in government when government failed to found MH370. However, we see it lastly will affect our financially, cause this incident will make people to being scared to travel with the flight. Thank you.
Good morning, sir. I'm being seated on lesson ID number DEM09211119. I'm here to talk about the recommendation that government can do for the MH370 victim family. First of all, government can provide them free health insurance, free school fees, and extra. Following which, the federal government may provide the funding for welfare programs for their families and provide additional funds. Additionally, government can provide their victim's spouse a permanent and secure job to support their family. They also can help them by paying their housing rental and providing complimentary grocery every month. Lastly, government can help them by giving money for their festival.
So today I'm going to talk about conclusion. Based on data from British commercial satellite firm Inmarsat and Britain Air Accident Investigation Branch, the plane is presumed to have crashed somewhere in the South Indian Ocean for nearly 3 years. Underwater search efforts were conducted some 2,500 kilometers southwest of Perth. The disappearance of MH370 has been described as the greatest mystery in the history of aviation. Despite the effort of an international investigation team and millions of dollars spent searching the ocean bottom for the wreckage site, no one has been able to determine what really happened. A new evidence organization from its debris has suggested that the landing gear of MH370 was down when the aircraft crashed into the Indian Ocean, killing 239 on board. Substantiation the theory that the pilots deliberately crashed the Malaysian flight. That's all for conclusion. Thank you, sir.